Walker. Deuce is loose. He will score. Touchdown, Ole Miss. 80 yards. Pass is caught. Touchdown, Houston, and who else but Nathaniel Tank Dell. Morton taking a shot downfield in the direction of Aiken. Pulls it in for the touchdown.
Inside the Eye Bowl, presented by the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, is brought to you by Origin Bank. With a team mentality combining trusted advisors and innovative technology, Origin Bank builds unwavering loyalty by connecting people to their dreams. Every great relationship has an origin story. Start yours today at origin.bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. By Louisiana Office of Tourism. Visiting Louisiana is different for everyone. No matter what you love, you'll find what you need to feed your soul. What will your Louisiana be? Visit findyourlouisiana.com to start planning. Coca-Cola. Shreveport Coca-Cola United is proud to be the longtime beverage partner of the Independence Bowl, and Powerade and Body Armor are the official sports drinks of Shreveport Coca-Cola United. Powerade, hydrate with 50% more electrolytes. Body Armor, it's more than a sports drink, it's a potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and has no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. And by the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate. When it comes to sports in Shreveport-Bossier, the story starts and ends with Roy Lang III. Read Roy every day in the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, Louisiana's fastest-growing news website, only at ShreveportBossierAdvocate.com.
Welcome into Inside the Eye Bowl, presented by the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, the official podcast of the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. With me, as always, Roy Lang, the sports editor of the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, as well as a couple special guests. We have Houston Nutt, former Arkansas head coach, former Ole Miss head coach, Murray State as well, coached in our game a few times, and Matt Shanklin, who worked at Arkansas while Coach Nutt was there, and now serves as our director of development. So should be a fun episode. We're excited. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate y'all having me. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Be quiet, dog.
I love it. Wait, we got to get, what are the dogs' names?
Shadow. We got Shadow going right now.
Nice.
Yeah, all right,
Shadow's going to take care of it. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. We love dogs.
No, yeah, we love dog appearances on the show. Coach, just wanted to start out by talking about obviously some of those Independence Bowl memories. Coached in this game as a head coach in 2003. We're on staff at Arkansas in 91 in the Independence Bowl, and then I didn't realize we're GA at 81 with the Oklahoma State Independence Bowl team. So what are some of your favorite memories, maybe not even on the field, but just those off-the-field moments in Shreveport at the Independence Bowl?
You know what? It's always such a great feeling to go to a bowl game. And I was a grad assistant for Jimmy Johnson when we went to the Independence Bowl, and the reward, boy, the see the players' faces light up. That was really the first time as a young coach that I got to see firsthand, the effort that the Independence Bowl did to make everything so nice for the players, the coaches, and their wives, and to see these players light up, man, there's nothing like it. In fact, I still got my Independence Bowl watch right here.
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
And if you look in the background, I have every bowl that we've been to, and Independence Bowl's right there behind me. And I tell you, it's just memories that are long lasting that you never forget. And I love the city of Shreveport, and Independence Bowl did such a great job. And of course, as a head coach, when you win, when you beat a good team like Missouri, and you beat a coach like Coach Pinkel, man, it's such a great feeling, because that bowl game kind of, catapults you to the off season with recruiting. Your players become better recruiters. They're better ambassadors, and they're all talking about that bowl win and that week they had in Shreveport.
Talk about that 03 game, going back, and I remember it, and you said it was sort of a monkey off the program's back. You ended a little bit of a losing streak that year, plus the bowl success hadn't been there in recent years, but just sort of tell me what a win like that can do for a program and that particular group.
Yes, I'll tell you, it is such a great feeling to win the last one. And you hit on something that's pretty important, and Coach Broyles reminded me of it. Hey, look, it's one deal just to get to a bowl, but it's very important for your fans and your season ticket holders for that excitement for the next year. And winning again helps you go fast forward. To lose that last one just puts a bad taste in your mouth. And so that was so huge, so big, and it just helps everything. Helps recruiting, helps the feeling, the donation of your fans. It's just a great feeling. It's so important.
Coach, that was a heck of a game, and two teams that had a lot of success on the ground that night. You guys, I think, ran for 300. They ran for 285.
Yeah.
A little bit of a back and forth, but what are some of your on-field memories from that game?
Well, we knew Coach Pinkel. He does such a great job. He had Missouri rolling at the time and did a great job. And then we knew we had our hands full. And I don't know if y'all remember this. Matt probably does. But, one of our best linemen kind of opted out, Sean Andrews, went on to be a first rounder. And again, I understood this. He worked so hard. His mother worked 2 jobs. They're from Camden, Arkansas. And he felt like, he just couldn't take a chance on getting hurt. And so that really kept me up through the week because he was such a difference maker, But I remember us doing a great job of special teams. Crowder blocked a punt. And man, that really helped us and gave us great field position. And as you mentioned, the rushing game was there. We knew we could run the ball if we just take care of it and everybody do their job. So it was a physical game, really physical game, back and forth. And of course, the team that makes the fewest mistakes is going to win that one. So fortunately, we came out on the top side of that.
You mentioned the opt out there. These days, coaches pray that you're not going to have 10 guys opt out of bowl games.
Right.
But was that your first experience with that? Because that was sort of before its time in terms of not playing that last game.
Well, you bring up a great point. It was my very first one. And man, I was just in shock, and it hurt. But I understood it. I had a great relationship with Sean Andrews, and tremendous athlete. But you look at today's world. I'm sitting on the sideline, 12 years without a team, and that's nothing. That's nothing. You got, like you said, 8, 9, 10 players, and what I can't get just this past year, I see players that opt out that are wearing their jerseys on the sideline at the bowl week, and I'm thinking, man, I'd hate to be a coach sitting there looking at a great player on the sideline with his jersey on and just walking up and down the sideline and not contributing. Come on. So I don't know. I got some mixed feelings. It's one thing if you're hurt. If you've been hurt, I get it. But if you're not hurt, man, I'd really rather see the players finish that year out right with your teammates.
Coach, you talked about Sean Andrews, but another great player that I wanted to ask you about. We still talk about him. We still keep up with him as we keep up with the guys that play in our game that are in the NFL. Jason Peters. If I believe what I read was right, came to Arkansas as a D lineman, then converted to a tight end, and obviously has made himself into probably a Hall of Fame tackle in the NFL. What did you see from him? How was that experience coaching him? And what do you think made him able to make all those changes in his career and then end up as such a great tackle in the NFL?
He was from East Texas, Queen City. And the very first time Bobby Allen one of my assistants took me to see him in high school, he's playing basketball. And as soon as you see this guy on the basketball court, immediately you said yes. Big old guy, nimble on his feet, so athletic. Now, what people don't realize is we recruited him as a defensive tackle, probably could have been, but he had a problem with our defensive coordinator. It wasn't going good. And then lo and behold, I get word from his cousin, Randy Garner, Matt. Randy Garner was an older guy that was already there. Randy says, Coach, you better go to Jason's room. He's packing. He's going home. I said, what? Man, he's homesick, and plus he doesn't like the defense. Way he's, it's just not jiving good. I said, hey, I'll take a beeline to that room. And I said, Jason, what in the world are you doing? Coach, I'm just going to go back home. I'm just not fitting in, blah, blah, blah. I said, hey, listen, You're too good a player. You're a freshman. You're 18 years old. Everything in front of you. I go through all that, and I see I'm not making a dent. Then all of a sudden, right before I get this mindset, I said, "Hey, I got the offensive playbook. I got a GA. He's bringing you the playbook tonight. You're going to be a tight end. I am. You're going to line up next to Sean Andrew. You're going to be a tight end. I've seen you play. I've seen your hands. You played a little tight end in high school. Yes, sir. You're here. Are you for real, coach?" I said, "I'm very for real." And that's the story. And so the very next day, I made sure in pass skill, hey, let's get him about 7 to 10 balls because we don't want him backing up, man. So if you look at some of these 7 overtime wins we had, he played a critical role. If you look at the Oxford film, he caught a 2-point play, caught a big time flag route, an option route. Lexington, Kentucky, another one. Man, this guy is a player. But now the pros, he put on another. We had him at about 260 at 6'5", 6'4.5". Now all of a sudden he's about 330, and I think he may still be playing. I think he decided to hang it up this year after 20 years. But boy, his feet were so good. They put him he could play guard, tackle, and he's just unbelievable. And you're right, Hall of Famer for sure.
I told Eric and Roy that coming out party in Oxford was a fun night.
No doubt about it. Matt Jones was a freshman. Man, he was something. Of course, we love David Cutcliffe, and he said it right after the game. He said, "No, Eli Manning, his group, nobody deserved to lose that game. It went so long." And I'll tell you a funny one on that. We got back in. Matt and Dean Weber looks at me and says, "These pieces been, we had the 8 o'clock, like an ESPN2, I think, game. It's 8 o'clock. I started a little late. We didn't get through to about almost midnight, and the pizzas were like hard." Tony Blue comes in and says, "Coach, pizza's like bricks. They've been here a while." We stopped on the way out. This remember in Oxford, you couldn't fly to Oxford. You had to go to Tupelo or Memphis. So we were going to Tupelo. I said, "Dean, there's a Burger King right there. Call them and tell them you got 100 we got to order 100 Whoppers." We had the best time eating Whoppers on the way back to that Tupelo airport. And it is a great, great memory. In fact, I still get a lot of players texting me some nights saying, "Hey, coach, how about a Whopper?" So it was a fun night, man. A lot of fun.
That was a great bus ride.
Yes.
Yeah, and that just sort of leads into something we were definitely going to ask you. That obviously is one of the biggest moments, or one of the most memorable moments for you. Give me another couple, 1 or 2 moments that you just will never forget as a coach.
Well, Matt will tell you, we're in the Southwest Conference in the old days. Arkansas was in Southwest Conference. I grew up watching, the James Street, these big, great players growing up. Little Rock War Memorial was all I ever known. So the first year we went to the Citrus Bowl and played Tom Brady, the Michigan team, and it was back and forth. That was fun. But the second year is 2000, the old Y2K deal, and and remember now, Arkansas has not won a bowl game in I think 15 years, and so we're playing Texas, and it brings back all those memories for me. Daryl Royals there during the week, Frank Royals, all these icons, and I'm just nervous. So we changed hotels the night before, and I never will forget getting this phone call at 10:30, and lo and behold, it's Coach Broyles, and I'm thinking, man, somebody messed up in the hotel. Somebody did something. Because we got so our scout team's still back at the other hotel. I'm thinking, oh, what happened? Because Coach never calls me that late, and I said, "Hello, Coach. What's up?" "Houston, I want you to enjoy this time. I want you to enjoy this Cotton Bowl. This is something special. And I don't want you to worry. Just go enjoy it. Your teams are well prepared this week." And it kind of just took it off of me, because remember, I've been watching Daryl at the luncheon. We had Daryl Roll, Frank Roll, all these my heroes. And golly, man, we're playing Texas. They got all these. Mac Brown had all these great, great players. And I'm nervous as a cat. I guess he saw that. So that night before, that phone call was so needed. And I was so glad he did it, because our guys played lights out the next day, did a great job, and won that one. To win the Cotton Bowl, just like the Independence Bowl, man, when you win that bowl game, it's just a great, great feeling.
You talk about Y2K. The last game of the century was the Independence Bowl, Ole Miss, Oklahoma.
Yes.
Coach Cutcliffe, beat him on the last second field goal, and a lot of good memories from that game. But you talked about Coach Broyles, and you played for him, and as well as played for and coached under Jimmy Johnson. Also played for Eddie Sutton in basketball. So many great coaches that you played for or coached under. What were some of those experiences like, and what did you pull from those that you were able to use in your career?
I think I'm such a fortunate victim of circumstance because my mother and father gave 4 boys. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. Gave us the most important thing: time and love. And they were school teachers at the Arkansas School for the Deaf. And my dad was the football coach, basketball coach, track coach. So those were my first influencers, my heroes. But then the reason I can say I'm such a fortunate victim of circumstance because I got to play for the best of the best. Frank Broyles was a coach's coach. He coached coaches. He picked the right ones. He's a buttoned up Southerner that understood recruiting, communication, organization, all those things. And then Lou Holtz comes in, and Lou Holtz is the disciplinarian, boy. I mean, everything buttoned up, both chin straps, toes on the line, motivator deluxe. I mean, learned so much from him. Then Jimmy Johnson, Mr. Enthusiasm, know when to hit the right buttons. Then you had Eddie Sutton, had the privilege to be around Eddie Sutton, who teaches the 3 Ds: defense, dedication, discipline. And then his 2 assistants were Pat Foster and Gene Cady. Those are 2 Hall of Famers as well. So, man, I just been blessed to be around so many greats. So you can't be them. The one thing about an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, you can't fool them. You can't be counterfeit. You got to be you. But I took a little bit from each. Lou Holtz, Jimmy Johnson, Eddie Sutton, my father, all that. You take a little bit, you learn. I was like a sponge, and you got to be yourself. But man, they're such great teachers and motivators and mentors. Phenomenal. Just a privilege to be around those guys.
Coach, I was going to ask you, what do you think along that line? What do you think today's coaches are missing out on that you had and coaches 20 years ago experienced in the profession?
Man, that's a great question. I tell you, Matt, here's what I see. When I go around and visit, I speak to teams and I speak to these corporations. The first thing that the teams, when I talk to coaches, it is so hard keeping all their players there because players are going to be poached. They're going to be recruited. And so you're trying to keep all your eggs in a basket. And then you add this NIL, the transfer portal, you add all these scenarios. It's free agency. And so, the days of 2 things, Matt, to answer your question. The days of, okay, I'm going to take a 5-year plan and really develop and make these guys, I'm going to get them better, take them as babies. Those days are gone. I just don't think now Dabo Sweeney's trying to hang on and not do that. But I guarantee his fans will say after this, especially last week, what did Georgia do? They beat them pretty soundly, and they're going to look and compare, and they're going to say, well, Kirby's taking these guys that the needs. He's going to go get the needs of these transfers portal free agency and filling in, and he's reloading, and he's ahead of the guys. So the thing that you miss is that 5-year window is over. You got to do something within 3 or less. And sometimes 2. And then when you can pay a coach, let's say Coach Fisher, when you pay a coach off $78 million to go sit on the back porch, man, to me, it sends an unbelievable signal of, hey, it's win yesterday. And it is, everybody wants to win. And you just hate this. One of the greatest lessons about football, it's the greatest game there is. If you get knocked down, it's okay. That's not the sin. The sin is that you don't get back up. Well, my point is, if you yell at one right now, guess what? He's probably going to put his name. If you don't go see him and have that relationship, he's going to put his name in the portal, and he's going to be gone. And so building that team. When I spoke at SMU just 2 years ago, Rhett Lashley told me, Coach, I got 27 new players I hadn't seen. I said, wait a minute, they hadn't gone through spring? No, got here in June and July. So you're talking about teams. If you go down, it'd be interesting to see how many teams have 27, 26, 25 new players that are going to be in that locker room that you haven't seen. Now, you've seen them on film, and they're older. They're sophomores, juniors, redshirt juniors, seniors, and they're looking for another home, and they got laps around the track with experience. And so you're kind of leaving out that little freshman. That freshman is having a little harder time getting on that roster. And now you're talking about moving it up to 105 scholarships. Guess what? Now the walk-on. Remember how many good walk-ons that we had? And they're kind of getting shoved to the side. So this thing is ever evolving. But I tell you what, it's a tough deal because this game teaches perseverance, and I think that's the biggest thing about. Very seldom do you see somebody stay in there and hang in there and fight it out. They transfer.
Makes you wonder that Jason Peters might not be Jason Peters today.
Yep.
Well, exactly. No question about it, Matt. And just think about Felix Jones sitting there, with Darren McFadden, Peyton Hillis, saying, "Tell you what, I think I'll go over here and play. They're going to pay me a little bit more." I can see them knocking on my door, saying, "Hey, coach, LSU's offered me this $500,000. Can you match that, or otherwise I got to go?" I mean, you're exactly right, Matt. It's crazy.
And then once, you deal with all those problems, once you get the groups in there, you mentioned Lou Holtz, the disciplinarian, toes on the line, and this and that. Would your coaching style apply today? Because kids are so different. Can that type of coaching work today?
I think it can. I'm old school. I think it can, but it has to do. You have to do this. If that relationship is not tight, and I'm talking about locked up, buttoned up tight, and what I mean by that is there's got to be a relationship where it's. I told Jason Peters that night, "Hey, listen, your mother told me I got you, and I'm responsible for you to get a degree, and you're not going anywhere." I had that leverage. I had that backup.
Right.
Or this deal is you better have that relationship. If you're going to get on one and coach one hard, you better go see him by the end of that sun. When that sun goes down, you better be in his dorm room or condo or apartment or wherever. You better go see him and make sure it's right, because that name's going to be put in the transfer portal. And I just think it's more to answer your question. I think it's more difficult. I think it can be done though.
Coach, another thing that I've thought about the transfer portal is, and not to make this into a transfer portal podcast, but, more than the mental side, we've talked for years about NFL, players or quarterbacks, young guys struggling when they get into the league. Well, they've had 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators, or they've had 3 or 4 different coaches. I don't think that we think about that enough with these guys that are, transferring to 2 or 3 different programs in their first few years in college, that they haven't given themselves the ability to be coached up by one coach or one coordinator for consecutive years, and they're getting all these different ideas, or getting all these different coaching coaching styles in their head.
No doubt about it. Now, it's very difficult to have that much different terminology, different aspects of the way coaches coach. And, a lot of times, when I talk to NFL coaches, they say that the quarterback has such a long way. Most of these guys have a long way to go because they're looking to the sideline and they really don't understand the structure of the defense. Not all, but a lot of them, don't understand, hey, where the free safety is located and how to get them out of the wrong play, get them in the right play, get them in the right protection. And again, when you have that inconsistency, there's something about chemistry where a guy, to me, the players love structure. They love, the routine of it. When the routine's down, okay, this is when we go to study hall. This is when we eat. This is when we go to the weight room. This is when we practice. And you want your players on automatic pilot. And what I mean by that is if you can put that thing on automatic pilot because you're so well prepared and you're not just having to think slow, what I call slow thinking, you can play fast and you're coached. Man, when that connection is right, it's right. Boy, it's a great feeling. But as you mentioned, when you have that many different deals, when there people say, well, you look at Uyunglele. He's been to about 3 schools now. And I remember vividly, y'all remember when he came off the bench as a freshman at Clemson and he took the team down the field versus Notre Dame?
Yep.
And you think, okay, we're going to build on that. This guy's going to be good. And then you look up now, he's at his third school. And just like right now, it just seems like there's some hesitation. There's some, do I do this? Do I make this throw? Do I throw it with anticipation? And you don't see those things that are clicking. And it's just, I tell you, I think it's very, very hard.
Speaking of very, very hard, the life of a head coach, especially in college, 24 hours a day, 365. I think you could argue the NFL guys maybe have a little more of a life because the schedule allows for it. But you look behind you in those memories. When you're a coach, you probably don't get an opportunity to actually take in what is going on or the experiences and look back on them. But now, when you walk in that room and you look at your wall in your office, is that static, or are there times you allow yourself now to look back and really cherish some of those memories you have?
It's funny. It seems like just now, I mentioned I'm about 12, 13 years out without a team. And it's just now where you kind of step back and you look at some of these balls and some of these games and think, man, you beat Tim Tebow in that swamp. You think about those games, but there's always a couple of them. And I think if you talk to any coach, it's the ones that keep you up every night or every 2 weeks. I got two games that every 2 weeks wake up in a nightmare. Tennessee game, Matt, in '98. Well, all we're trying to do is run out the clock, brother. I feel like, that team, Danny Ford recruited some really good players, but they hadn't won. And all of a sudden we get on a roll. We start getting confidence. I'm thinking this team can go all the way. We're 10-9-0. And that Rocky Top game, it wakes me up. Golly, all we had to do is hang on. We're going to be fine. We're going to win this thing. Tennessee goes on and wins the national championship. We're in Florida against Urban Meyer in Atlanta versus Florida in Atlanta. We're rocking and rolling. They fake a punt on the -14. Fake a punt on the Urban's so desperate. He fakes a punt on the -14, makes the first down, but Reggie Herring, our defense coordinator, we get off. The next 3 play, we get off. They punt it to us, but we fumble the punt in the end zone. And it switched everything. So those 2 games, it just keeps you up at night. But to go back to what you said, it is a time where, what makes it great is when your players call and say, hey, coach, those 4 years at Murray State is the reason why I'm the father that I am today. Man, there's nothing like, you can't buy that. And then when Darren McFadden calls, last week, says, hey, remember the LSU game, coach? It's 3 overtimes, man. We got them guys. Now, they went on to win a national championship too. Yeah. But, the memories in the celebrated locker room, the relationship, that's what you miss the most.
I actually wanted to ask you about some of those players. You mentioned Darren McFadden. You mentioned Peyton Hillis, Felix Jones earlier, Sean Andrews, Jason Peters. Who are some of those players that maybe wowed you on the field, off the field, that you still think about and still impress you to this day?
I got to go with Matt Jones. Matt Jones was 6'6". He weighed about 243 pounds. Didn't look it, and he's 4'3'7". And all my players wanted to race him every day after practice. I say, hey, we're not racing. We're not racing. Don't pull a hamstring. They all wanted to race because they didn't think he was that fast. Unbelievable. Every defensive coordinator, Gene Chesnick, I never will forget it. He was at Auburn working for Tommy Tuberville. And he said, I didn't think Matt Jones was that fast. Joe Lee Dunn come up after a game, I think Mississippi State. The film doesn't do him justice. I didn't think he was that fast. And he constantly out running these guys. Joe Kynes was at Alabama and says, that guy is so dang fast. And so he kept the chains moving for us. He was an unbelievable player. And Tony Bua led during our time, our 4 years, led our team in tackles, and he had 1 speed. And it was full tilt. Not highly recruited, but man, he could play. Kenny Hamlin, Batman Carroll, Kanoe Kennedy, just to name a few. Really good, really good. Anthony Lucas. And what I like I got about over 100 guys that are coaching. And I love that. And they love their work because they don't feel like they're going to work. Anthony Lucas is at a school called Plastic Academy in Little Rock, Arkansas. And he's won a championship before. And and he makes a difference. He makes a difference with these young guys, and so that's what makes you feel good.
Coach, I was going to leave you with one question. We talked about it. Transfer portal really undermines this, but being fortunate enough to have worked with you and Coach Burrells and been at Arkansas, part of that Razorback family, and you talked about bringing teams together and having that family atmosphere, which is probably so difficult for coaches to develop these days. But you have it more special in the fact that family is truly family, in that you mentioned you're one of 4 boys, all coaches. Growing up and then going through your career, not just the people like the Jimmy Joneses, but the influence. Talk about the influence of your brothers on your career and having that support system and that foundation of family throughout the career.
There's nothing like family. And here's where this makes Matt, this is such a good question because of this. We did dedication night 1 week prior to our first game. And here's what's amazing about that question you just asked about family. When we put our hand on that helmet, and I started it off about dedication, this is what I'm going to dedicate to you. I'm going to dedicate every hour a game plan to help make you successful. And then I let the players come up. And if we did a study from 98 to 2003, if we signed 25 players, on the average, 17 to 25 came from a one-parent home. I've only had one instance where the one parent was a father, Eddie Jackson. The others were all mothers. And so I always tell our coaches, hey guys, besides their high school coach, you just took the baton from the mother and you are now the father. You're the difference maker, man. And so let's go. Let's be real careful and choose our words properly. And let's make sure that you're coaching like your son. And so my point is, these guys wanted to be a part of this family. And if you talk to Anthony Lucas, you talk to these guys, I don't care if it's Murray State, Boise State, they'll say, they would get up there on dedication and say, guys, I don't have a family. I have a brother in prison. I have a father I have never met. My family and my brothers are you. And I'll run through a wall for you. Man, it got emotional. So many nights that 1 week before it got emotional because of what you're saying, Matt. It's this family. Well, I always had that. And so I always felt like, man, I got advantage. I got mother and daddy at home. They love us. I got brothers that I can lean on. They're all coaches, as you mentioned. Now, the basketball coaches did a whole lot better than us. They're still coaching. The football coaches we got kicked out. But Dickey's at Missouri, and Dennis is coaching down there at Cliff Harrison's college, Ouachita Baptist. And I'm thinking, man, you basketball coaches are lucky. But it goes back to a lot of our conversations is about team and about family. And to me, Matt, the closest team is going to win. I don't care how many 5 stars you got. I don't care how many great guys that run 4-3. If you got a close-knit team that will play for one another and they don't care who gets the credit, watch out. And that's what we had. We got to go. We won the West 3 times in a very difficult conference. And each of those times, I could tell you our locker room was much, much better than most because we had family. And it wasn't just a word of mouth, just a cliche, oh, we're family. No, they came to our house and ate. And there's something about when an 18-year-old comes to your house and they sit at your table and they look and they say, oh, that's how Coach Nutt talks to his wife. Oh, that's how Coach Nutt talks to his daughter. Because remember now, they hadn't seen that. 17 out of 25 guys hadn't seen how a father talks to his mother or talks to his brother. So I thought that was pretty good that we would keep our family, our coaches' family around our players. And boy, they loved it. And we became closer because of it.
Coach, last one before we get you out of here, kind of building off that a little bit. With all the changes in college football now, and there's a lot of talk about bowls being meaningless and not being what they were. What do those memories off the field with your team, with, you just mentioned your family at those bowl sites a lot of the times during the holiday season. What do those mean, and where do you think bowl games should still fit in college football moving forward?
We were all together at Labor Day with I got 3 daughters and a son, and it's amazing. About 50% of the time they were talking about either Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it was always at a bowl site.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go to the bowl game. And so all our families, what they remember at Christmas is bowls. And they talk about, hey, remember when we got on the bus and we did this, this, and this, and then we had to go do this function, that function. And we had the hospitality room, blah, blah, blah. We played this. I mean, they were bringing up things I didn't even know existed. And so that to me is just the most wonderful, unbelievable thing. And that's where I give y'all so much credit. The organization of setting this thing up, for hospitality rooms for the family, the kids, the function, the luncheon, the bands. I mean, it's just an unbelievable time that my kids, they feel like advantage. They had an advantage because they had so much more than, say, just an average Christmas. We had Christmas and the bowl. We got to do the Christmas and Santa Claus and the bowl. When they start talking about bowls, it just excites them. So I appreciate all the work, all the things that y'all do to make everything so much better for an 18, 19, 20-year-old and some coaches' families, because it's awesome.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. We really enjoyed our time with you, and best of luck moving forward. So thank you for coming.
Hey, appreciate y'all having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Go give
Coach.
that dog some love.
All right. Okay.
All right. That was Coach Houston Nutt of Independence Bowl lore. So great conversation. Really enjoyed having him on.
I thought at the end, very interesting thing you think about Christmas time might have been one of the few times they were all together, because week to week college coaches just aren't home. It's just not how it is. And some of their memories of having that whole family together, because you can relax a little bit during bowl week, is one of the few, at least during the fall, that they get to spend together.
Yep. And we hear it all the time on the player side of, some of these players don't have a whole lot to go home for Christmas. So when they get to come to these bowl sites, spend Christmas with their teammates, their coaches, their team, that means the world to them. So, that's still a great experience for those players and coaches and in those universities.
I just don't know how, listen, this isn't the only college football podcast in the world, but how you would listen to any of these and hear these stories, from Houston Nutt or any of the people we've had on here. Holly Rowe even. Talking about her side of going to bowl games and covering football games, how you would think any of these games are meaningless. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I know it's fun to talk about, and it's sort of the buzz thing. These little tiny bowls don't mean anything, but man, listen to these stories and imagine if they weren't there. Imagine if these people didn't have these stories. I mean, come on.
They have an impact for a lifetime.
Yep. All right. Well, good episode, guys. Thank you for coming on. We enjoyed it. Thank you all for listening. Keep tuning in wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, TuneIn, I think, Google, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Keep tuning in to the Inside the Eyeball podcast. Also, radio show every Wednesday from 6 to 7 on 1130 The Tiger. You can also listen to the replays on our Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts on our podcast channel. So keep tuning in. Thank you to the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate for all they are doing for the Independence Bowl. One last thing to mention on the radio show, Beat Roy started last night. Get your chance to beat Roy, win weekly prizes from the Independence Bowl from the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, and get a chance to be entered into a season-long grand prize that includes tickets and sideline passes to this year's Independence Bowl. So head to ShreveportBossierCityAdvocate.com/BeatRoyLang to enter in this week's picks, and hope you all participate. So thank you once again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Inside the Eyeball, presented by the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, is brought to you by Origin Bank. With a team mentality combining trusted advisors and innovative technology, Origin Bank builds unwavering loyalty by connecting people to their dreams. Every great relationship has an origin story. Start yours today at Origin.bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. By Louisiana Office of Tourism. Visiting Louisiana is different for everyone. No matter what you love, you'll find what you need to feed your soul. What will your Louisiana be? Visit findyourlouisiana.com to start planning. Coca-Cola. Shreveport Coca-Cola United is proud to be the longtime beverage partner of the Independence Bowl, and Powerade and Body Armor are the official sports drinks of Shreveport Coca-Cola United. Powerade, hydrate with 50% more electrolytes. Body Armor, it's more than a sports drink, it's a potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and has no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. And by the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate. When it comes to sports in Shreveport-Bossier, the story starts and ends with Roy Lang III. Read Roy every day in the Shreveport-Bossier City Advocate, Louisiana's fastest-growing news website, only at ShreveportBossierAdvocate.com.